Welcome to the kitchen. Today it's all about the star of the holiday table, turkey. No matter the occasion, I'll walk you through everything you need to know to make a stress-free, classic whole roast turkey. We're gonna also make homemade stuffing and rich, flavorful gravy. The sides will be there too, but this time we're focusing on the star of the show, turkey. Let's get cooking. So actually, the very first thing I wanna talk about is the turkey stock. So in this pot, I have a turkey neck that I cut up, as well as some chicken wings. Now, if you can get turkey parts like turkey wings, that would be ideal, but I could only get chicken wings. And you're gonna brown them on both sides, so see how nice and brown they are. The browning of these chicken and turkey parts is what lends that really flavorful aspect to the gravy. They take probably like 5 to 10 minutes per side to really get the right browning. So now I'm gonna add some water to that. So I'm gonna do 4 cups of water and then 4 cups of prepared chicken stock, or you could just do 8 cups of water if you wanted to. Most poultry stock you wanna cook for at least 4 hours, but this will ramp up the flavor in 1.5 to 2 hours. Then I'm gonna add a diced onion to that. And then I'm gonna add some herbs. So I've got some thyme and some bay leaves, and I'm just gonna add a little bit of salt to that. Be really careful about this because when you're cooking stock, generally you don't wanna add salt or very little salt because it's gonna go into a sauce that you might reduce and concentrate, or you might season the sauce. In this case, we're also gonna be adding turkey drippings later on, which could be quite salty. So just be careful. So now we're gonna bring that to a boil. As it comes to a boil, all the brown stuff that's on the bottom of the pan will come off and dissolve into this gravy. Then we're gonna reduce the heat, let it simmer very gently, uncovered, for about 2 hours. Make sure that it doesn't vigorously boil during that time, so keep turning the heat down. We're gonna start with about 8 cups of liquid, but we're gonna end up with about 6 cups of stock, and that's just enough to make our stuffing and our gravy. All right, now let's talk turkey. So there are all kinds of methods to make a total showstopper. You can brine it, you can dry brine it, you can start the turkey upside down. One of my favorites is actually to cut the backbone out of it and press down on the breastbone and basically butterfly or spatchcock the turkey. But all of these require a certain amount of hassle, right? Finding a big enough vessel to brine your turkey and keep it cold for 24 hours, turning a really hot turkey in the middle of cooking it, taking out the backbone, unless you have a butcher that can do it for you, So I think that most of us just wanna know how to get the best out of just a whole classic roast turkey. So that's what I'm gonna show you. So first of all, let's season this turkey. So I have some salt and pepper, and you're gonna season this all over. So the front and the back and inside the cavity. Now, one thing I do sometimes is dry brine ahead of the time, which means salting the turkey all over the night before. That can sometimes really help the salt penetrate, but it does draw out some of the juices. Okay, now we're gonna put a bit of oil on the breast. So butter has the best flavor, but because butter has some milk in it, while that's melting and evaporating, it actually cools down the skin and then prevents it from getting crispy. So I like to use clarified butter. So this is butter where all the water has evaporated out of it. If you don't wanna go to that trouble, actually I find oil makes the crispiest skin, okay? So you wanna focus the butter on the breast because that is where you need the extra oil. I always like to double salt the breast, okay? Because sometimes some of it falls off, and this is how you get some extra beautiful crispy skin. Okay, next I'm gonna put it in my roasting pan. So one of the reasons that I season it on a pan before I put it in my roasting pan is a bunch of salt inevitably falls off and ends up in your pan, and it can make your gravy and your drippings way too salty. So next for stuffing. So I just want to talk about to stuff or not to stuff. I'm definitely team not stuff. There's several reasons why you don't want to stuff. Number one is that it's actually a health hazard. It's really hard to get the interior of the stuffing up to temperature. The other, and probably the more important reason, is that by the time the stuffing's hot enough and cooked through, your bird is definitely overcooked. Adding stuffing often adds an hour or more to the cooking time, and then you really have a dried out breast. So if you want a juicier breast, don't stuff it. I am gonna put some aromatics in here. So I have some diced up onion. I've got some herbs here. So I have rosemary, thyme, sage. I'm gonna shove that all in there. So we're not trying to cram the cavity full. We still want that nice air circulation in there. We're just adding these aromatics because it's gonna help flavor the turkey and especially flavor those gravy drippings. It's gonna taste really good. So this is ready to go in the oven. I'm just gonna go wash my hands. Before I attend to my turkey, I have got to attend to my stock, which was boiling like crazy. I'm just gonna turn that down. So you wanna have that on low or medium low heat and just at a very gentle simmer, minimum 1.5 hours, maybe 2. This is gonna form the foundation of a super, super flavorful gravy, and you can do this a day or 2 ahead of time. Okay, this is ready to go in the oven, but I have a couple more things I wanna talk about and one more thing I wanna do. So just notice how low this roasting pan is. Lower and wider the better, because then you get better air circulation, especially in the lower part of the turkey, which needs more heat. The other thing, notice how I don't have this turkey trussed. Trussing turkey looks really nice. It comes from a time when you used to roast turkey on a spit and you didn't want parts dangling off. But when you're roasting it in an oven, when you truss it, all the dark meat takes much longer to cook. So leaving a lot of air circulation, leaving it untrussed, not only is easier, but it cooks better. Finally, when you're gonna put it in the oven, one way to prevent the breast from cooking too quickly and browning too quickly is actually to cover it with foil. But you actually want to spray some pan spray or oil or butter on this foil, because it runs a risk of sticking to the turkey skin and then peeling it off, okay? So we're just gonna put that just on the breast part, and then we'll take it off about an hour before the end of cooking. Okay, ready to go in the oven. I'm just gonna open the oven door first because I can't, one-hand this turkey. Oh. Right, look at that beautiful bird. So that is in a 350-degree oven. The turkey is gonna take about 15 minutes per pound, maybe a bit less. That's a 15-pound turkey, so we're looking at around 3.5 hours. When we're back in the kitchen, we are gonna be making the stuffing, and we're gonna be checking our turkey and talking about how you can tell it's done nicely and not overdone. Stick around, don't go away, it's gonna be delicious.
Cooking on the Coast is brought to you by Country Grocer, with 11 convenient locations across Vancouver Island and Salt Spring.
Welcome back to the kitchen. Let's get stuffing. We are gonna make our turkey stuffing next, and this is something you can make ahead of time earlier in the morning, especially if you only have one oven. So we're gonna start with 1/2 cup of butter, and we're gonna melt that in our beautiful saute pan. I just love looking at melted butter. It is one of the most beautiful things. Okay, you wanna make sure the butter is nice and melted before you add 2 cups of diced onions. I like to do the 2 full cups, so it's usually 2 medium onions, maybe 1 large onion. And you don't wanna skimp on the butter in this recipe because we have, as you can see, a lot of ingredients that are gonna go with it, and the butter helps make the stuffing crunchy at the end. So we're gonna saute these onions for just a couple of minutes until they're nicely softened. You don't want to brown them. And also I just wanna point out, notice how with all the vegetables, because I'm gonna be also putting some leeks and celery in there, the onions, leeks, and celery have all been cut quite small. That is my preference because then I feel like it distributes more evenly into your stuffing and all the bread pieces get a chance to absorb the flavor. Okay, these are cooked about halfway. Now we are going to add 2 cups of finely diced celery. How many celery stalks you use will depend on how big they are. This was actually 6 stalks, but sometimes it might only be 3 or 4. And then 2 cups of finely chopped leeks. I just love leeks, and I feel like they add so much delicious flavor. I'm also gonna add a little bit of salt to this, maybe 1/4 or 1/2 of a teaspoon. I gotta turn that down before it burns. We're gonna add more salt later as well when we mix it with our turkey stock, but right now we're just gonna add a little bit to help draw out the flavor from the vegetables. All right, those vegetables look nice and softened. Like I said, you don't want to overcook them. You could make them a bit softer if you want, but this is looking great. Now we're gonna add some fresh herbs. So I have here 2 tablespoons of chopped fresh thyme. Fresh herbs really make all the difference in this dish. 1 tablespoon of chopped fresh sage, and 2 teaspoons of chopped fresh rosemary. We are just gonna give this one last stir and then dump it into our bowl. Okay. Here we go. Smells so good in here. Okay, you want to try and scrape as much of that goodness out as possible. There we go. Now, ideally, you want to let this cool a little bit before you use it. We'll just spread it out for a second. I just want to talk about the bread quickly. So this is 1 loaf of white bread from a bakery, a really good quality bread that I have cubed and then dried out in the oven. So you want dry bread because then it can absorb the flavors better without getting completely mushy and soggy. You also don't want them to go brown. And then I'm going to get my casserole dish that I'm going to put this in. So this is a approximately 9 by 13 inch pan that I've already buttered. So I'm gonna take my bread and put it in here. Like I said, normally you wanna cool this. I'm just rushing things here because I wanna get this in the oven. Okay, I usually use my hands for this, but because I don't want to burn my hands, I'm going to just toss it up. So we're trying to toss the bread with these aromatics and get it as evenly distributed as possible. Then we are going to do a mixture of egg and turkey stock and a little salt and pepper, and then we're going to bake it in the oven. All right, that is nicely mixed. Now I'm going to grab some turkey stock. So I have 2 cups of homemade turkey stock, made the same way as that one over there. And then I'm going to add 2 eggs to that. And then I'm going to get 1/2 teaspoon of freshly ground black pepper and 1 teaspoon of salt. So you want to be pretty generous with the salt because that's a big loaf of bread. You're going to mix this up. So we're basically making a custard. In effect, stuffing is like a savory bread pudding. So having this mixture of turkey stock and egg prevents this from being just a pile of burned croutons at the end. So now we're going to mix that in there. And then we're going to stir that up, making sure that all the bread has a chance to soak up some of that delicious turkey stock. Once you feel like it is good, then you're going to put it in this casserole dish. Okay, we're going to spread that out. All right, this is ready to go in the oven, but first I've got to take out the turkey because I'm pretty sure it's done. Ooh, look at that. I'm just going to put this here right now, and then I'm going to just put this stuffing in the oven, uncovered, for about 1/2 hour at 350 degrees. You want to get it nice and crispy. If you like a really soggy stuffing, then cover it. Otherwise, leave it uncovered the whole time. All right, let's bring our turkey over here. We're going to get out our turkey platter. And we're going to get our turkey. Pray for me that I don't burn myself. Okay, there we go. Dun, dun, dun. It smells so good. Let me tell you some of the ways in which I can tell the turkey is done. Actually, the main way, you guys all know it, the instant reading thermometer. This is guaranteed to make sure that your turkey's cooked all the way through. So you're gonna poke down in the joint here, and you want it to read at least 165 for the breast. And when you poke down here in the thigh, you want it to read at least 195. We lucked out because both of these cooked at about that rate. Having the foil on there really helps slow down the cooking of the breast. Also because this is a smaller turkey, like a 15-pound turkey, I often suggest if you have a huge crowd to feed, to get 2 smaller turkeys rather than 1 big turkey if you have room in your oven. Okay, now I'm gonna use some tools to try and transfer this to the platter. And I always tilt it like this to try and get all the juice out, because that's gonna be good in our gravy. Okay, now I've got to tent that with some foil. Whenever you cook meat, especially a big roast, you wanna have it come out of the oven and rest for at least 1/2 hour before you carve it. That allows the juice to recirculate throughout the protein to relax and hold on to the juices. So it'll be a much juicier bird than if you cut it right away, all the juices will fall out. So there we go. All we have left to do now is make the gravy, carve this up, and serve it. So stick around. When we come back to the kitchen, we'll be doing just that. Welcome back to our holiday all-star. Our turkey has been resting, the stuffing's done. Now it's time for one of the best parts of any turkey meal, the gravy. I have the roasting pan full of beautiful drippings and fond, and we are gonna turn this into a rich, delicious gravy. Let's get to it. So I have got the pan on a low burner. I'm actually gonna turn the heat up slightly, and we have this homemade turkey stock that we made before, and we're gonna pour that in. And what we're gonna do right now is we are going to get all of this delicious brown drippings and fond out of here. So you need the heat to make this happen because the hot stock will help dissolve all these caramelized proteins and make your gravy extra, extra delicious. So the combination here of the rich brown homemade turkey gravy and getting all of these drippings is gonna transform this gravy. So I feel like it's almost more important to make a really delicious gravy than it is to make a really delicious turkey, because turkey can sometimes be difficult, but you know, a really good gravy covers a multitude of sins. Okay, let's put this in our sink. All right, now we are gonna use the heat of the burner and we're just gonna try and scrape up every last bit of deliciousness. Make sure it all dissolves into here, and then we're gonna strain it, and then we will make gravy out of it. I've got a strainer over a bowl here, and I'm gonna just pour it off the corner. Look at that. Okay, now I'm just gonna strain that all out. Now I'm gonna transfer this back into this measuring cup, just because then it's gonna be a lot easier to pour when we're doing gravy. So gotta pour fast. Oh no, I spilled. One of the things I forgot to mention that I did before I started deglazing the pan is I actually spooned off all of the turkey fat. So I just tilted the pan onto a corner and spooned off as much as I possibly could. You could also use a turkey baster or a gravy separator. But I saved this turkey fat because we are gonna use it to make the roux for thickening our gravy. There we go. So we need about a 1/4 cup of turkey fat. And then we need about 75 to 80 grams of flour. Normally you use equal parts by weight of fat and flour to make a roux, but I always do slightly more flour than fat because, as you can see, the turkey stock has kind of a layer of fat on it. You just don't want the gravy to be too fatty. So important thing here is we are gonna cook this for several minutes until the flour just starts to brown slightly. Okay, so we have some light browning on that. I can also smell it. It smells nice and toasty and roasty. Now we are gonna pour in our hot turkey gravy. Woo, yeah. We're gonna whisk it continuously while we do this so that you don't get any lumps. And notice how I'm using my flat whisk. So now we're gonna turn this up. So remember that when you're making gravy like this, it will not thicken until it boils. Then once it boils, you have to turn the heat down and let it simmer for 5 to 10 minutes to get rid of any raw starch flavor. So while that is simmering, we are gonna carve our turkey. So this turkey's been resting for at least half an hour. We kept it lightly tented with foil so that it would stay warm but wouldn't start steaming, so you can still see this beautiful skin. So let's just carry this over to our cutting board, and I always like to dump out any of the juices. Oh, most of them ended up in the pan. Okay, let's start carving this. You can use a carving fork. I prefer tongs. Let's stir this. We gotta stir that. Keep on top of everything. Okay, so you wanna start by just cutting the skin here between the breast and the thigh. We're gonna find the joint and we're gonna take the leg off. Okay, then we're gonna cut off the wing. Then we're gonna take off the thigh. So whenever you're carving anything, you're always trying to go between the joints or between the bone and the muscle. So you're not trying to cut through any muscle. Use your knife as a guide to just show you where to go. So you're gonna take the breast off next, okay? You're gonna, again, follow the bones with your carving knife. Okay, there we go. Okay, so when you're cutting up turkey breasts, you always want to cut against the grain like this, not with the grain. And that way it is smoother and nicer and give everybody a little piece of skin. There we go, some beautiful breast on there. Ooh, look at the way that thigh is just peeling off. That's so nice. That's a really good sign. That means that all the collagen has dissolved nicely and made this a really nice, tender, delicious bird. Okay, now that we have that done, let's get all our sides out, our stuffing, our mashed potatoes, and we'll start plating this up. Okay, we got everything ready. I got my sides on the plate. If you're interested in the recipes for these delicious glazed yams, fluffy mashed potatoes, and roasted Brussels sprouts, they are on the website, link below, check it out. Let's taste this gravy. Make sure that it is well seasoned. Look at how beautiful it is, by the way, perfectly coating this spoon. Oh yeah. Oh, that's perfect. Doesn't need salt, doesn't need anything. If you weren't happy with the seasoning or the color, you can also add a little bit of soy sauce to that. It helps richen the flavor and the color. All right, let's get this plated. So we've got this beautiful stuffing. Look at the nice textural contrast in the stuffing. Reminder that if you wanted it to be a lot softer, like a traditional inside the turkey stuffing, then you could cover it the entire time. Oh, look at this. Now I'm gonna put some turkey on there. So I'm gonna give everybody a piece of light meat and a piece of dark meat. All right, now let's put some gravy on there. Gotta put it inside our mashed potato volcano, all over our stuffing and all over our turkey. Oh my gosh. Oh, this looks so good. Gravy is what really makes it for me. Look at how perfect that is. It smells so good. And there it is, our beautiful holiday turkey dinner. Golden, juicy, carved to perfection, served with stuffing, rich homemade gravy, and all the classic sides. This is the kind of meal that brings everyone to the table.
From the plate to the pour, don't miss the perfect Liquor Plus pairing. Up next.
Pairings are brought to you by Liquor Plus. Discover the plus.
Our holiday turkey is carved, the stuffing's on the plate, the gravy is flowing, but what do we pour to bring it all together? Cheryl from Liquor Plus is here to help us out. You've got something special to pair with this classic turkey dinner?
I sure do. We have a lovely Chardonnay
Ooh, okay.
from Blue Grouse Estate Winery.
Okay.
The perfect Chardonnay
Yeah.
always pairs perfectly with this classic turkey dinner.
Okay.
So
That
we'll
is good
give
to
this
know.
a try.
I feel like I have to give that notice to my dad because I think he might like to pair red wine with it. Maybe.
Oh, that's okay too.
Is
you
it?
know
Okay,
what? I
okay.
think red wine goes with everything. So, so cheers.
All right,
Yeah,
cheers,
let's try
cheers,
it.
Cheers, let's try it. Yeah, that's like quite fruity actually.
It is.
Yeah.
Yeah, lots of citrus in there.
Yeah.
It's tangy, it's zippy,
Okay.
it's light.
Yeah, so I feel like, yeah, it's gonna contrast nicely with this
Yeah,
rich
I
meal.
think so.
Okay, so what are we gonna dive in first?
I'm feeling a little
You're
bit of
a little
turkey,
bit of turkey.
a little bit of stuffing.
Okay, you're smart. Let's just do it.
Digging, maybe potato in there as well.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, honestly, there's nothing better than a turkey dinner.
Yeah.
So let's taste that wine
Okay.
with
this,
those
yeah.
first bite.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Ooh, yeah. And now
Right?
the wine tastes more nutty now.
Ah, interesting.
Yeah, to me anyways.
You know that there is a little bit of almond
Oh.
in there as well. So
Okay,
it gives
yeah.
a little bit of almond flavor in there. And it's not so much that it's overpowering, right? It's a nice light Chardonnay, so
Yeah.
it's not overpowering the richness in this delicious meal.
Delicious. Well, thank you so much. This was a great pairing.
Thank you for having me.
And thank you for joining me in the kitchen. I'm Chef Heidi Fink. Until next time, keep it festive, keep it flavorful, and remember, the more you learn, the better it tastes. I need another bite of this turkey.
Yeah, a few more bites. You know, and I like the dark meat and the light meat
Yeah,
as
I'm
well.
actually kind of a dark meat fan.
Yeah. I like
both.
the light meat for me is the next day sandwich.
Yeah, that's totally,
right?
yeah, you know what, I'm with you.
Smothered in mayonnaise.
Totally. Mayonnaise and cranberry sauce. Do you like cranberry sauce in your turkey sandwich?
I sure do.
So glad you were able to join me for my holiday.
I'm so glad too. And cheers again.
Cheers again.